Welcome to the Still Gender Podcast, Earthlings. This is the show where we will dive into taboo topics and the stuff we didn't learn in school. Here we will talk about actionable tips, tricks, and strategies for the out-of-the-box thinkers, dreamers, and weird folks who don't quite fit in with the cultural norms, who just want to live authentically too. No more feeling misunderstood or alone, because here we are all a little strange, and that is celebrated. I'm talking to you, Misfit, and I am your mother, Misfit, Laura Siljander. So let's start practicing compassion with ourselves and push that love and light out to others. Yeehaw! Let's go. You have arrived. You are here. Welcome, welcome to the Still Gender Podcast. I've got a good one for you today. I am stoked that you are here. So let's just dive in, shall we? Let's just get down to it. If you are a yogi and you look for intentions for your yoga practice, this could be some inspiration. If you're a yoga teacher looking for a theme, this could give you some inspiration. If you are neither of those things, this podcast will still be helpful for you on an everyday affair. For real. I'm not even playing right now. On the first day of school, I'm a teacher. I ask my students a few things so I can get to know them a little bit better. And one of the questions I like to ask is, what is a cool or interesting or weird fact about you? And most people have something to say. A lot of people get nervous, but I also have a percentage of students who say there's nothing interesting about me. Now, if there's one thing that we can all agree on is that we're sharing this human experience together. And a lot of interesting things happen to us, to you. So when someone says I have nothing interesting to share, I simply don't buy it. However, what I think could be going on is that that person hasn't really sat with him or herself or their self. They haven't taken the time to get to know what's interesting about me. Or they're simply introverts and they're really freaked out that they have to talk. But I want to go back to the first item of thought, the first train of thought of they haven't taken the time to get to know themselves. This is really hard to do with all the distractions of Netflix and our friends, and we are constantly in autopilot, go, go, go. Get things done. Let's be efficient. Get her done. You feel me? So it's super easy to actually not know oneself because there's so many other things to do. There's your IG feed. There's an awesome show on. You want to hang out with your friends and go grab a craft beer, a kombucha. Like there is so much stuff. I mean, you're listening to this. There's so many distractions. So it's really easy to not know thyself, right? So let's just dive in a little bit deeper here. There is something called a self, S-E-L-F, and there's self with a capital S and self with a lowercase s. And there's a very interesting idea in the yogic world that says that the lowercase s self are all the things that we labor ourselves with, such as student, mother, things of that nature, the labels that we are assigned, the labels that we wear, and the labels that we indulge in. This lowercase s self could also be considered what people identify you as. Let's say you have a rockin' body and you're the girl or guy or person who has the hot bod, or you're the beautiful person, or you're the gregarious person. It's how people view you. It's your reputation. It's how you spend your time. It's what you're interested in. Here's a great example. People associate me, Laura, as a yogi, surfer, outdoorsy, kind of hippy-dippy, earthy gal who has a podcast and her own business. That's kind of the lower S self. Some people are Greek life girl in a sorority attending a university from middle-class America. Or you could think about I'm a mom and I'm married to this guy and we have a few kids and I like to run. It's like stuff like that. That's your lowercase s. And we spend a lot of time here. We spend a lot of time cultivating that lowercase s of ourselves because it's what people see. We care about that. If you say you don't, you do. To some degree, we're wired for that. So again, we spend a lot of our time cultivating our lowercase s self. And we love it when our lowercase f self gets stroked and pet. You're like, what are you talking about? Hear me out for just a second. Let's say you went to the doctor and the doctor says you need to lose some weight for your health. And you're like, okay. So you start dieting, you start exercising, you lose the weight, you get off heart meds, whatever it is that you're on. And then you get to become the person who lost all that weight. And then people start saying things to you like, you look amazing. That's them stroking you. It's stroking your ego. It's stroking your lower S self. Let's say you're a student and you worked really hard on a paper and the teacher gave you an A and said, great job. It's stroking that lower S self. Let's say you got like a C minus or a D on that paper and you're like, but that was a darn good paper. That wouldn't be stroking your ego. So are you feeling me right now? If you have a really cute outfit on, you're like, I spend a lot of time putting together my appearance today, and someone's like, you look adorable. They're stroking you. They're stroking your lower case S self. And the ego loves that. The ego craves that. You buy a new car and people compliment you. The likes that you get on your IG feed, it's all of that stuff. You literally love getting stroked. I love getting stroked. As a teacher, when someone says, or a podcaster, when someone says, this podcast has really helped me, they're stroking my lower S self. And I'm like, I feel so good. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. No, I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all. But I'm saying to identify with that you are getting stroked. Your lowercase s self is getting stroked. And that can be good, but that can also be a little bit scary, because let's say you're known as the athlete. You're the marathon person who can just run and run and run. You're lean. That's your life. It's what you do. You're a marathoner. Well, when your body starts to break down, when you are no longer that marathoner, I feel like a lot of people will go through an identity crisis. You're no longer a marathoner. What are you? Because you have been looking for those strokes for your lowercase s. You've been cultivating that lowercase s because you don't know who you are outside of a marathoner. Do you feel me? Empty nest moms, they put their whole lives into their children. It's a beautiful thing. Their kids, they grow up, they become wonderful, successful human beings. That strokes mother's lowercase s. When the kids move out and start their own families, mom has an empty nest because that's been her identity. So I'm not saying that these are bad things. I'm just saying that sometimes if we are so reliant on being stroked, our lowercase s's being stroked, and we don't spend time cultivating our capital S, I'll get there, capital S, then we go through an identity crisis. And think about it. We're all going to get old. We're all going to leave this world, maybe to go to another world, maybe being reincarnated. I don't know what you believe. But during that time, when we get older, when things start to fall apart, our memory goes, our body goes, we can't do the things that we used to do. And we've been just cultivating this lowercase s our whole lives. We go through an identity crisis. You may be going through one right now. If you're an athlete and you're unable to exercise, if you're a yogi and you're not able to get on your mat, fill in your blank of your lowercase s. Who actually are you? Beyond these exterior labels that we spend so much time cultivating and getting stroked. Who are you past all of those things? So take away some of these labels. What are 4 labels that you would put on yourself, such as mom, student, girl, boy? Think of 4. Now, who are you when those labels go away? Who are you when you don't have your hobbies? Who are you when you don't have your family and friends around? Who are you when you are away from all those distractions? You're like an onion, peeling one shallow surface, one label, one expectation, one responsibility, one distraction at a time, peeling it away, getting rid of it all. Who are you? Who is your capital S self? To be honest, this could be a very scary thing because 1, you don't know your capital S self, and 2, that's a really scary place to go without all the distractions. I have some students that say, I feel sad after yoga, and that's usually because they haven't sat with themselves, and a lot of their problems will surface because we have stripped away many of the distractions, not all, but many. And that fact that you have to sit there in your shavasana and be with yourself, a lot of scary things come up. A lot of of unpleasant feelings come up. Things that you have stuffed down from your childhood or from a week ago, they come up. And you can do a few things with that. You can stuff it back down and say, I'm not ready to deal with that. Okay. Or you can sit with it and figure it out. Or maybe you need to ask for help. Maybe you need to seek a coach or a counselor or a therapist. Maybe it needs to be someone past your mom or your best friend. Maybe these are things that you need to break through so you can get to that capital S self. And it may be a scary place, but it also may be a place of freedom to know thyself. So if this is something that you want to try to work on, this is something that interests you at all, something that I like to do is to ask a person to move the body, because it's distracting, but not to the point where you're like scrolling through your IG feed. So I like to do this with my yogis. I like to do these on walks or on runs or in some way you're moving your body. If you're not able to move, then I would say go to a nice quiet space, nowhere distracting. And I would say, what are the 4 labels that I have been given from my society or culture? What are those 4 labels? And I would either say them out loud, write them down, or just say them in your mind. 4 labels. And then ask yourself, who are you without those labels? And then you may think of a few more items. Maybe a label that didn't come up was a vegan or a vegetarian or paleo. Now, strip that next. And then what comes up next? Strip that next. And constantly start to strip these labels away. So I do a couple rounds of this. At least 3, so I can get as many labels out of the way as possible. And then I ask myself, why? Why am I known for this? Why do I know myself as this? Why do I do these things? What's the why? What's the intention behind it? An example could say you're a world traveler or you live in a van. Well, then why do you live in a van? Why are you a world traveler? What feeling do you get from that? What emotion does it evoke? Not, I just want to see stuff. Go deeper than that. Why? What's the true essence of why you're living this unconventional lifestyle? The why. So after stripping away your labels, ask yourself why? And that's when you start to get to your capital S self. It's a great way to start exploring, who are you? Why do you do these things? And what are you free of these labels that we've been assigned? Oh, brah, deep stuff. All right, I'll give you a personal example. After stripping away so many of my labels, and man, I went through dozens, blonde, unconventional, lesbian, female identifying, podcaster, teacher, yogi, like I just kept stripping them away. And know what came to my capital S self is what I finally landed on was, if you ever see a small child, he or she is just curious. They ask why about everything to the point of annoyance. The way they experience life in such a non-conventional, non-conforming way where someone has to tell them, like, you're not supposed to do that. They don't know. They're just living their life authentically. They experience life through their senses, taste, touch. They also are super curious. They're so curious. They want to learn. And that fed my capital S, is I want to know more. I want to see more. I want to grow more. And if I think about it, that's why I travel so much, because I want to see, grow, and experience more. I'm in a university setting because I want to learn. So my capital S is driving my lower S labels, which isn't a bad thing at all. You just want to become aware of their at connection. That was just a small personal example that I wanted to share, just so you can see how that's connected, how this works, and to figure out how to get to know yourself just a little bit more. If scary things come up, like I said, you've got a couple options. You can push them back down because that's where they came from, or you can ask for help. I'm not telling you what to do. You know what to do and what works for you. But to know thyself, capital S and little s. We have them both. It's just good to become aware of both. So next time you see your little s getting stroked, just become aware of it. My ego feels good. I feel good about myself. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just good to become aware of it. Okay, that was fun. Yes. Gosh, I love podcasting. It makes me learn and grow more too. Feeds my capital S. And so I hope you feed your capital S today, tomorrow, tonight, wherever you may be. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in. I'll be around next week. If you want to get a hold of me, feel free to reach out on IG at practice_compassion. Y'all, great to be with you. Shalom.